Hey there everyone! In last week's video, we talked about how the coronavirus is affecting us and other full-time RVers that are traveling right now. And at the end of that video, we asked you guys to ask us questions in the comments, and we actually got a ton of awesome comments from you guys. Tons of awesome questions too, and we are going to answer them to the best of our ability in this video right here, right now.
Right now!
Right now. Now, just so that you guys know, this video was filmed on Tuesday, March 31st. And as you know, news on the coronavirus outbreak
changes daily.
Yeah, every single day.
So keep in mind that by the time this video goes out, some of that information might be outdated, but at this point in time, it's all accurate. Our first question is, where are you getting water and dump, and is it getting harder to find? Now, for us, we usually get our water and dump our gray tank at gas stations and truck stops, not campgrounds. So with all the campgrounds that are closing down, that's really not affecting us very much since truck stops and gas stations are still open since they are considered essential businesses. Now, since all of this started to get a little crazy, we've only really been to 3 different spots. So when we were at Sedona, Arizona, on the way there, we dumped and got our water fill at a gas station in Cottonwood. And then while we were in Sedona, we filled our water at Dead Horse Ranch State Park, since the state parks in Arizona are all still open as of, the filming of this. So if you're in Arizona, you can still dump and fill at state parks by just paying their day use fee. And then on our way out of Arizona into Utah, which is where we're currently at now, we are dumping and filling our water tanks at Maverick gas stations. There are a ton of Maverick gas stations throughout the state of Utah, and they're incredibly RVer friendly and almost always have free dump and free water. So if you're anywhere near Utah, I highly advise going to a Maverick gas station. So like I said, for us, thankfully, finding water and dumping our tanks hasn't gotten any more difficult, despite the fact that many campgrounds are closing. So if you're in Arizona, definitely hit up the state parks. And if you're anywhere near a Maverick gas station or a truck stop like a Love's, a Pilot, Flying J, a lot of times they have RV dump for around $10, and you can also fill your water there typically. But the resource that we use to find our freshwater fill and dump sites is rvdumpsites.net. So if you haven't heard of it before, check it out. It is an excellent resource.
The next question we got is, are we having any trouble finding dispersed camping? And I can tell you that the last 3 areas we've been to have all been very, very busy. We were near Phoenix when all this started, and then we were near Sedona, both of which are busy all year round. And now we're in Utah near another very busy area. So I can tell you that even though we're camping near really busy areas, we have been able to find camping. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's been easy to find secluded camping, but personally that's our fault for not looking for like a national forest or staying away from bigger attractions or something like that. So that is our fault. Now, even though we are trying to disperse camp near busy areas right now, we are still able to find camping. It has been a little frustrating because it all seems to be group camping, and we don't particularly like big group camping areas. We like to find like a small little campsite all to ourselves off somewhere. So that has been a little difficult, but again, that's our fault for camping somewhere busy. As we start to move to, like, let's say national forests or, places that aren't like big, heavy, popular attractions or something, then I guarantee we're not gonna have any problem finding dispersed camping. There's a lot of fear out there right now that the campgrounds closing are going to force other full-time RVers that typically stay in campgrounds to move to public land, like dispersed camping, how we're camping right now. And personally, I have got to tell you, the dispersed camping on public land is so vast across the United States, especially out west out here, that I just don't see that being that big of a problem.
Our next question is, would the BLM allow you to stay longer than the 14-day stay limit so that full-time RVers can hunker down and shelter in place until this is all over, since campgrounds are closing all over the country? I don't think that the government really is thinking about full-time RVers right now, or is really even considering our existence, if I'm being completely honest. But with that said though, out of all of the BLM sites that we've stayed at, we've only seen one BLM ranger come out in our entire 3 years on the road. And in the national forest sites we've stayed in, only about a third of them have we had a forest ranger come by and document that we were there. Jenny and I never stay longer than the stay limit when we're on public land though, because we just don't want to contribute to dispersed campsites or campgrounds being closed down by the National Forest Service or the BLM office, because we have actually come across campsites that have been closed down because campers just weren't able to follow the rules, and we just don't want to contribute to that at all. However, with that said, in these extreme circumstances for other full-time RVers that have been pushed out of campgrounds, that have no family to stay with and have nowhere else to go other than public lands during, all of this, I don't think that you're gonna have any issues if you were to overstay the stay limit there. I don't think a ranger is gonna come and tell you to get out. Maybe in some of the national forests, but probably not on BLM unless it is near a very busy attraction. That being said though, you stay there over the stay limit at your own risk. I know that the National Forest Service does cite people and gives out fines for people that stay in locations longer than the stay limit. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you are in just an extreme emergency situation. There's almost always somewhere else to go. If you're staying in the national forest, typically once you are staying past the stay limit, which is typically 14 days, you have to leave that national forest completely and go to another one, which usually isn't that big of a deal. There's typically another national forest sort of close by, and then BLM is typically you have to go a certain number of miles away from your current site. How far is that, Jenny, usually? Like 30 miles, 50 miles?
Between 30 and 45 is what I've seen. Yeah,
so you'll just want to check with the local BLM office in the area to see how far away you have to go from that campsite, so where you can kind of reset your 14-day stay limit. Like I said, it's usually not that big of a deal. It's not that hard to find another dispersed campsite.
The next question we got is, what are full-time RVers supposed to do with campgrounds all across the country closing down, especially those with no family to go to? And my recommendation for you is contact friends. See if you can driveway surf on their property, or if they just have a plot of land that you can park your rig on. I recommend that. If your friends don't have anywhere that you're able to stay, then my next best bet for you is to contact private campgrounds. Even though state parks and county parks all across the country are closing down right now, for the most part, private campgrounds are staying open. And so you can contact them, see if they have any spots available. I know that those are getting really full really fast though too. So if you can't afford a private campground, or they're all full in your area, then now might be a good time to try and look into dispersed camping or boondocking, how we like to call it. And we love it. That's the way we stay 99% of the time, is we boondock or dry camp out on BLM land all the time. And this would be a really good time to try it out. And if maybe you don't think that you have the right resources, or if you don't have a generator, again, now might be a time to get a generator so that you at least have electricity. You can test out your water tank storage. Again, truck stops and gas stations, they have dump stations for you and water fills, so those are definitely ways that you can get water. But that is my best recommendation, is boondocking. I can't really say enough about boondocking. It's our favorite way to camp. So if you haven't tried it yet and you've been kicked out of campground, then maybe now's a good time to try it. Resources we use to find the free campsites that we stay in are freecampsites.net and CAMPENDIUM.com. CAMPENDIUM has a lot of pictures on it, and Free Campsites has a lot of free spots on it. It's mostly all that they focus on are free campsites, but you can find some really cheap campsites on there as well.
Our next question is, why are you camping out in the middle of nowhere right now? And if you got sick, what hospital would you go to? Well, first off, we're camping, we're dispersed camping because that's how we always camp. We love camping in the National Forest and BLM land. It's just our favorite way to RV. And on top of that, it's actually the safest thing to really be doing right now. I mean, the only way that you can contract COVID-19 is by being in close proximity to someone that has it, or say someone coughs on their hand, touches a door handle, and then you touch that door handle too shortly thereafter, then you could also contract it. So if there are no people out here, then we're just not gonna get it. We're really safe out here from coronavirus. The only way that we could really get it is if we were to go into town, say go grocery shopping, or get some water, dump our tanks, or get fuel. That's about the only way we can contract it, but we are really limiting our trips into town right now for that very reason. The longer we're out here in the middle of nowhere, the safer we are. And as far as hospitals go, we're really not that far from the nearest hospital. People typically think, when they see us out in these empty areas, that we must be just like way out in the middle of nowhere, just like out in the Sahara Desert or something. But we're actually not that far from the nearest hospital. We're only about 15 miles away. So if we were to contract coronavirus and our symptoms then became severe, we are not really that far from the nearest hospital that has an ER or an ICU. We'd be just fine. And on top of that, you're not even supposed to go to the hospital unless you are experiencing severe symptoms like shortness of breath or an intense fever anyway. So even if we got sick, unless that were to happen, we wouldn't go to the hospital anyway, but we're really not that far.
The next question we got is going off of what we were just talking about, and it's kind of a long one, so I'm just going to read it. And it says, the danger is not when you are out dispersed camping. The danger is when you go into town. What precautions are you taking when you go into town? And that is an excellent question. So David and I actually have a couple little travel hand sanitizers. We have one in the truck and one in my purse, and then we have 2 extra ones that haven't even been opened yet that we got for Christmas. Surprising. It was a great Christmas gift because, we're actually using it all the time. But whenever we go into town and we can't instantly wash our hands, we use hand sanitizer after we touch anything. When we go grocery shopping, they luckily have sanitizer wipes that you can wipe down the cart handles with first, and they also have like a foaming hand sanitizer you can use, so we use that when we go in and when we leave as well. We don't touch our faces at all whatsoever when we're walking around the stores or when we've been shopping all day or even have been in town at all whatsoever. And then as soon as we get home, we wash our hands. We have antibacterial hand soap, and we wash our hands nice and thoroughly, just like the CDC recommends. A nice solid 20 seconds, get under your fingernails, scrub really nice and hard. And so those are the precautions that we are taking. Now, when it comes to touching surfaces that we have to touch, like the gas pump nozzle or the door to get in and out of a store, or like the laundromat, like when we're opening and closing the washer and dryer, then we just use a lot of hand sanitizer. We're also doing our best to maintain at least a 6-foot distance between us and anyone else around us when we go and visit any places. And we aren't wearing masks because there is a massive shortage of masks for hospitals and other healthcare workers all across the country, and the CDC recommends not wearing a mask if you're healthy unless you are showing symptoms, in which case then you do want to wear a mask. But yeah, like I said, we're not wearing them because we don't want to cause an even bigger shortage, and those are the precautions that we're taking. 6-foot distance from people, use ample amounts of hand sanitizer, and wash our hands thoroughly when we get home.
Our next question is, what national parks are closed down right now? Now, I'm not going to try and list off all the national parks that are closed, especially because that is changing very rapidly. National parks, national monuments, and recreation areas are closing down by the day. However, I can point you to a resource that's being updated very regularly that has state parks, national forest campgrounds, and national parks that are closing down. And that is at CAMPENDIUM.com. There's a link in the description below that will take you right to that list that they're keeping updated. So go ahead and check that out.
And the last question we got, which is kind of a funny one, in our opinion, it's a funny one. And that is, with gyms closing all across the country, how are full-time RVers finding places to shower? And now, most full-time RVers with a big rig like ours actually have showers, so we're not worried about where we're going to shower. We're just going to shower in our RV. However, we're currently caravanning with Thomas and Stacy, and they do that. They like to go to the gym and shower there because it saves them on freshwater usage in their RV. And we also know of plenty of other people that don't have a shower in their rig that were using gyms to go and shower. And I know that to get around the fact that gyms are closing, the best thing you can do is go to a truck stop. Most truck stops have showers, and I don't remember how expensive they are, but normally if you buy fuel, it's free, and you can get a little fuel card and they punch it, and then, I don't know, something along those lines. And so that's a good resource for you if you are looking for a place to shower when you don't have a shower on hand like we do.
So that has been all the questions that we received from you guys in regards to this whole coronavirus situation, how it's affecting us and RVing in general. Hopefully we were able to answer your questions really well, and if we weren't, or if you have a completely different question that we didn't touch on, go ahead and just leave that in the comments below, and hopefully we'll be able to get to it and answer that for you. However, we don't plan on doing another Q&A video on this whole pandemic situation, or really another video on it again in general, unless there is some sort of major development that really affects us or really affects RVing in general, especially full-time RVing. From here on out, hopefully we can get back to our regular videos that are just on full-time RVing and travel in general. But yeah, hopefully we answered your guys' questions, and we'll see you next time. Bye.